we're on.
Hi, good morning. My name is Alan Lapson, and I've been cooking for a long time, been involved with a number of restaurants, and I'm here with my brother who also has the same background. This is an opportunity. The reason we're doing this is because we believe that there are ways for older people to eat really good meals on a budget, and we'd like to help show you some of those ways. So at no further ado, let's get looking at some of the equipment that might be helpful for you to have, and also explaining what those things are used for. So all of these that you're going to see here are different variations of spatulas. This you use in non-stick pan so you don't scratch the surface. This is probably the one I would use on your barbecue or something like that, and they're available at all the stores. This is a little more sophisticated. It's stainless steel and it's tempered, and it helps because the edge of it is sharp and it helps cut things loose from the bottom of the pan. This is a wooden one, so that's good for maybe stirring pasta sauce or whatever you want to use it for. This one is also excellent and is heat resistant, so it does a great job, which you'll see me use that in a little while. And this is one that could be used for pies because it's very flexible, and it actually has a serrated edge to cut the pie and then fit it underneath the crust and slide it back and remove it. So that's a very nice thing to have. It's not something that's a necessity. There are other ways of getting around it, but that works well. Now what I'd like to do is show you some of the pans that you might find in your cabinet or drawer and what they're good for. This is a coated pan, and it's excellent because it's non-stick surface. So it's easy to flip eggs or turn over hamburgers or stir things, whatever you want to do. And that one you would use that rubberized spatula over there with. Smaller version of it, but that's what would work well with this.
Do you have a preferred spatula that you would use on that non-stick pan? Do you have a preferred spatula you would use on the non-stick pan?
Yes, the one that's rubberized, but there are smaller versions of that same pan, which is this one, and that would be more suitable to the smaller pan that has a coating on it. And then here's one that's stainless steel, but you would just have to use a little more finesse with it to have it work properly, and we'll be looking at that later to show you. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to use this size pan, which is the same thing but much larger, to do this size pan's work, because that's a waste of time and energy. Okay. Some of the ingredients I want to have.
Start again.
Here are ingredients I have on hand set up to do the first of hopefully many episodes of cooking. Okay, so I've got eggs, because we're going to be cooking eggs. I've got some seasoning here. I've got
Are the eggs at room temperature, or did you just take them out of the refrigerator?
I took them out to get them down to room temperature. They cook a little more evenly then.
Okay.
Then I've got kosher salt. I've got crushed black pepper, chives, which you can buy in bulk, and we also grow our own during the growing season, and Italian seasoning, which is going to have a lot of oregano, basil, thyme, a lot of wonderful ingredients in it, and it makes it like you could almost use that exclusively with a little bit of salt. Then there's also ones that can be purchased, like this comes from Costco, and it's organic. It's a no salt seasoning. It has 21 different ingredients of types of peppers and things. Incredible on things like hamburgers and things that you might cook around, or even eggs for that matter. But there's no salt in it. Then I also have pitcher with some olive oil, and which I'll use later, or I may show you this as well using a spray can, an aerosol, that has olive oil in it, and it works really, really well. It's very inexpensive, and you get a lot of uses out of one, and you don't have to necessarily buy olive oil, which can be pretty expensive. Now, these are some of the implements I'm going to be using for doing the egg dish. I have a bowl, I have the eggs in a bowl, then I have a whisk, and this comes in all different sizes, or sometimes a shortened fork works just as well if you don't have a whisk. So now I'm going to crack some eggs. So we're going to do a 3-egg scramble. So I've got 3 eggs here. What works out very well is to use the side of the bowl to crack the eggs for. You can crack it on the top, but this is a little sharper and helps you. So I'll go through all 3. I'll put these in the sink.
So your preference is to use a room temperature egg as opposed to take them right out of the refrigerator?
That's exactly correct.
Okay.
They cook a little more evenly and a little quicker. And one last egg. Now, these would be great for over easy, which I could do, except I'm not doing over easy eggs. Today we're doing scrambled eggs.
When you say they'd be great for over easy, what exactly does that mean?
That means you cook it in a pan, you flip it once, and very quick after that, you serve it either on toast points or on an open empty plate and use it with toast on the side or with the bun or whatever you want to do with that. But the yolk is still runny, which is delicious and really adds a lot of umami, a lot of richness and fat to the product. So now I'm going to show you differently that each one. So you break the yolk and start beating the eggs with this, or as I mentioned, and you need to be real careful about using as much of the product as possible, not wasting it. Or you can use the whisk. Now I'm going to take and put a little bit of salt in, although some people swear that you need to salt afterwards on the eggs, otherwise they get tough, but I'd like to put a little bit in, so it gives me kind of a head start. I'm going to use a little black pepper, and the reason you see people seasoning from up high is you get a much more even distribution of the seasoning. I'm going to use a little tiny bit of this Italian seasoning, and I happen to like chives, so I'm going to use, because it's an onion product, vegetable, so I'm going to use a little bit of that as well.
So if you wanted to, you could use fresh chives, chopped up chives, or
Absolutely.
something if you roll them. Okay.
Absolutely. And then I'm going to stir this again. Get started.
Okay, go ahead.
Now everybody knows about and has had an opportunity as well, at least most of us, of making scrambled eggs. You beat the eggs, as I've done, and you put it in a hot pan, and you move it around, and then you put it in a plate. But I'm here to tell you that there's scrambled eggs and scrambled eggs. The best thing to do is low and slow. So you put a small flame underneath this non-stick pan.
And what made you choose the non-stick pan of the ones that you guys showed us?
Because the stainless steel take a little more finesse sometimes and a little more attention. This is a little more forgiving for most people. So I'm going to use the rubber spatula because that won't scratch the bottom of this, and it also, you'll see once I start cooking, it helps move product around. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little touch of olive oil in.
If you're using non-stick, what do you need the olive oil for?
It actually gives it a nice flavor, and it's healthy, and quite frankly, I usually use a lot of olive oil, and because there's nothing wrong with it, and it's actually very helpful for your skin, for your hair, to eat a tablespoon of olive oil every day, 1 or 2 even, and you get used to it, and it's very, very good.
So just the oil again by itself is
Right.
healthy for you.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's
Makes-
part of the Mediterranean
makes
diet.
sense.
That's the Mediterranean diet. Now I'm going to use the aerosol. Put that down. And then I'm going to use the spatula because otherwise you'll leave a lot of product in the bowl. So I'm going to put some on it. And you use the curved end to go in a different direction so you get everything out of this, because believe it or not, you could leave almost a tablespoon or more of product, in this case eggs, in the bowl that you don't get a chance to eat, and that doesn't make any sense.
Speaking of eggs, which do you prefer from the grocery store? Regular grade A eggs or farm raised or?
Farm raised are the best ones. The ones, if you can get them that are free range, that the chickens actually have a chance to eat all different types of insects as well as seeds and things like that, are probably the best, and it's healthier for the chickens themselves, and that's passed on through the eggs. So it's a little better egg, but you can't always find it, which is, there's nothing you can do about that. So now you can see the eggs are starting to tighten up now, and now you see why this nice wide spatula does a lot.
And you're
See
still
how-
on low heat.
I'm still on very low heat. You can even start lowering it a little bit more. And in fact, as you'll see in a moment, I'm going to turn it off completely because you can flip the eggs. Come on, flip. Today it's giving me a problem, but it's easy to flip it over right there. Now you want to take that off, right off
Okay.
the fire, so it doesn't continue to cook.
What if somebody says to you, well, the eggs are raw. They're not, dried out.
The eggs are not raw. They're just moist. They're not dried out. That's all the difference. And now, proof is in the pudding. I'm going to taste it, and you can see how moist and succulent the eggs are. Flavor is incredible. This is the time to add a little pinch more if you like a little bit more salt, but remember, the dietitians and people who know always say to try to limit your amount of salt intake.
Well, what else could you do with the eggs? Can you add cheese? Can you add different vegetables?
You can use different vegetables, you can use different kinds of meats, you can use different types of fish, you can use all kinds, whatever you are interested in, whatever you like. That's what you should do, because there's no end to the possibilities. So when people say, oh, it's just scrambled eggs, well, one taste will tell you this is not your grandmother's scrambled eggs, probably. This is much, much more elevated, great flavor, really tender, and I'm sure you're thinking to yourself, eggs are tender. I mean, there's nothing to them. Well, this is even more tender, if possible. So I hope you give this a try, and we're going to be trying to bring you different things to try cooking, ways of finding shortcuts, where to go for different things, and to remove any fear of cooking on your own, because it's a very joyful thing. It's fun to do with a friend because it's good for camaraderie, and also you can get more bang for your buck, infinitely more. So don't be shy, give it a try, and Alan signing off.